This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3, and we are back on Magmageddon, and we are back with another 6-player FFA. This time, it is going to be allies, and starting in the top left side, it is going to be a bunch of numbers that are an IP address. I don't know if it's a real IP address, but his name I'm going to be calling IP. And then as the Cyan allies, it is going to be Sjoeje. So I'll just be saying Joe. Jeromo as the yellow allies. As the orange allies, it is NerdyBoy. C9, Q9, MD is the blue allies. And as the purple allies, it is going to be Diversity's Pride. So it is going to be a giant ball of crazy because, number one, it is going to be starting with 40k. So it's an FFA, but these players are going to be going absolute bonkers, doing all sorts of wonky things. Going for, of course, one refinery. NerdyBoy going to be getting that on the way, and I do believe everyone's doing that, so nobody's deciding to move their MCV at first, which I would say is going to be a good idea. It's just the only difference is how many barracks do they go for, and how delayed is their refinery actually. As you can see, IP going down right there, and it should be right there. There it goes down for Joe as well. So all of these players getting off to the right start, and as you can see on the menu map, everybody but Pride has actually grabbed their oil derricks, so that's another slight advantage, although when you start with 40k and crates, I wasn't actually sure if crates were on this game, but yes, crates are on. So it looks like actually a lot of aggression out of IP here as he, I almost want to call him Ip Man just because that would be super awesome. However, he's actually immediately going for an extra harvester. He's looking to expand and he's actually going to be taking the forward expansion, deciding not to move his MCV. He still wants to get some buildings going on. Go ahead and turn health bars on there so that we can see, so that we just have a little bit more information. Because information is power or money or something, and knowing is half the battle, or at least 3/4 of the battle, as I'm not sure how that saying actually goes. However, it looks like everybody is going to be massing a lot of peacekeepers, but also only going for one barrack. Some of these guys, I guess they're looking to get a little bit more of an expansion going on, going for dual MCV, so is that actually going to be C9 smurfing as Diversity's Pride? C9 is actually going to be playing as Pride in this game. No, he's not. I'm just making that up, but he is going for dual MCV, which means we could see a lot of absolute shenanigans out of Pride. And everyone else, you'd think with 40k, they'd just be throwing stuff away. But no, everyone is actually being a little bit reserved. Although I can guarantee you as soon as this starts going, my computer will catch on fire. And probably I will die or something like that. If the game just suddenly crashes, it's probably because my hard drive either ran out of space or Fraps is deciding to be a little bit weird. But it does look like the first blood will go to whoever orange is. NerdyBoy sniping down that refinery, while on the south side, the multi-gunner turrets have gone down for Pride. And it is going to be a slight engagement between Joe and Jeromo. So they're actually going to be doing a little bit of stuff there. And Jeromo actually going to be deploying an engineer just to give his infantry a little bit of an advantage, and I think Joe has the perfect command hub placement where he can expand easily to both of these spots, so a good move by him. Does he actually have dual MCV? No, he does not. I'm not actually sure if anyone but Pride went for dual MCV, and dual MCV could really end up working out for him. However, it is going to be 3 multi-gunner turrets versus 2, and it would be doing Jeromo good to focus down those multi-gunner turrets with all of his forces as possible, just to get them down as quickly as possible. Vindicators will come in for Pride, and they will be able to allow him to clean up those multi-gunner turrets even more quickly, and Pride going to be immediately expanding to that water expansion, while on the top side it does look like IP is going to be moving in versus NerdyBoy. NerdyBoy looking to do some damage, although with those cryocopters there, he could be facing some serious adversity from IP, and IP getting his units really spread out. It's not a huge deal just because NerdyBoy isn't actually engaging. If NerdyBoy wouldn't have been able to just pick off his army bit by bit without it all there, then that would have been a much bigger deal. However, NerdyBoy going to be expanding right in the face of those cryocopters. So, and once again, C9 just trying to just stick to himself, macro up, and let the other guys kill each other off, because that is usually a pretty sound plan. However, with all of those tanks and no micro out of IP, although really, how do you even micro that much stuff effectively? That is basically impossible. Cryocopters all do go down, mostly because IP has been defeated. There you can see his absolutely ridiculous name. And so the first one, once again, this top left spot isn't actually doing good. which either a NerdyBoy or Joe should probably be one of the ones to take these expansions. Whichever one does will have a serious advantage in the long term, because hey, you all start out with 40k, but as soon as that's dried up, you're going to need a lot of expansions to continue macroing at that level. C9 looks like he's doing a pretty solid job of expanding, if I'm doing this math right, which I'm probably not, but it does look like he's going to be at like 9 refineries. I think that's right. No, he's actually going to be only at 8. So as I said, I was doing that math wrong. And over here, we are going to be seeing Vindicators strike out against Jeromo. Jeromo going to be grabbing that oil derrick. He's like, hey, you may be bombing me to oblivion, but I will take your oil derrick. And actually, oh, C9 with the heroic Harvester Crush. The Harvester is not heroic, but that crushing ability was heroic. And Jeromo and Pride are really going at it pretty heavily, while Joe, C9, and actually NerdyBoy as well are all just going to be kind of sitting around, not really doing a whole lot. And yeah, on the bottom team has got this highly contentious water area. I don't think that actually made sense, but they're both highly trying to contend this southern water area, trying to expand a little bit. NerdyBoy trying to really make that, wait. Yes, it is going to be triple MCV, which means that we could be seeing 3 multi-gunner turrets go down at once, which means this expansion might actually be on the fritz for C9. He might actually be losing that pretty quickly. Jeromo, I don't know if this is a good idea, engaging 2 enemies at once with Pride ready to swarm in at probably any moment here, and then moving in on Joe's territory, which Joe actually has quite a bit here, even with the assault destroyers trying to soak up that damage. They weren't able to quite protect them, and the cryo shot will be going down for Joe, and it will catch some of Jeromo's units, getting 3 basically free kills on those Riptides, allowing them to get taken out quite effectively. While C9 is trying to deal with NerdyBoy on the north, C9 may actually just move to engage NerdyBoy, although NerdyBoy, if he's got the proper control with tanks, he can basically eliminate that entire army in about 3 or 4 seconds, and then that would be possibly lights out for C9, but we will actually have to see what exactly happens. Jeromo and Pride once again contending for that oil derrick. Pride deciding not to actually take it out. The cryo shot does go down. It will catch a couple of units, although I don't think NerdyBoy is actually going to be able to capitalize on that because his forces simply aren't in position. Pride and Jeromo seem to have drawn a little bit of a truce, although Jeromo might be moving out on the top. No, he's actually just going to be continuing to deal with Joe. Joe does have the artillery advantage, and really, when you've got the artillery advantage, what else do you need? I'm kind of surprised he's not actually using those EMPs to lock down any of these buildings and just completely take everything out. And it looks like NerdyBoy is going to be up against the ropes. What does he actually have to deal with this force out of C9? Well, not a whole lot. He might be able to drop down actually a couple of production structures over there. If he could get in a armor facility, then that would be great because he could slowly rebuild his MCV. He's actually going to be shrinking it down, running it off to the water. And I don't know if C9 is actually going to lose too much stuff to NerdyBoy. I think NerdyBoy just needs to run in there and try and get as many infantry as he can, because honestly, he's not going to be able to do a whole lot versus the armor forces of C9 unless he can somehow isolate the Riptides and take them out. However, he is going to be going for the infantry. The assault destroyers are desperately trying to protect the infantry, and C9's control is pretty darn good. C9's basically going to be completely eating that base out of NerdyBoy, so NerdyBoy will be completely gone from the top right side, which means C9 will probably just end up mass expanding, but Joe has been able to just sit back, macro up, and look at this, he's going to be claiming the center and the left side of the map. Jeromo may very well be out of it in a couple more seconds, and a huge advantage is going to be having these assault destroyers and the Athena cannons as well. As you can see, Joe is actually in a pretty solid position, just not with, the massive amounts of units like C9 has, but in the artillery. And if it comes down to buildings, his artillery may come in very, very handy, especially being able to assault from 2 different directions. However, Pride certainly isn't out of it yet, although he is not incredibly strong, not quite as strong as C9 is. C9 just with a ridiculous amount of stuff. It's actually kind of absurd how much stuff he has. However, Joe is still going to be trying to contend this northern base and trying to do damage there. However, with a single multi-gunner turret, he might be able to get an extra refinery before he finally gets pushed out by NerdyBoy, unless C9 actually rolls in there. Which actually, no, it looks like C9 is going to be kind of swinging southernly, swinging to the south around, or heading to the south. I guess he's not really swinging anywhere, but he is going to be heading to the south towards Joe. Joe desperately trying to remove all of his forces, regroup all of his forces to deal with this threat out of C9. I don't think the artillery is actually going to be enough to deal with so much infantry out of C9. C9 may be able to just steamroll Joe, although if he does steamroll Joe, it's a possibility that he won't have enough to continue the steamroll to both Jeromo and Pride. Or it's also simply possible that Joe could actually win this battle. He does have a ridiculous amount of infantry, going to be able to lock down a lot of those assault destroyers and take them out pretty quickly. Plus, the cryo shot does go down and does get partially absorbed by that assault destroyer, so it doesn't do quite as much damage. However, a great placement of that precision air bomber from C9, able to take out quite a few infantry, but C9 is actually going to be on the retreat. His forces getting split up around this Tiberium volcano. That is going to be just a regular volcano, actually, while NerdyBoy desperately trying to get his base online. He's not quite out of this game, so don't count him out. We've seen FFAs in the past where people almost get counted out and then they end up coming back for the win. It can happen. It is unlikely. However, it does look like NerdyBoy is actually, or not NerdyBoy, but actually Pride is going to be losing quite a bit of stuff here. At least the base defenses. Does he actually have anything to follow this up with or hold off the forces out of Jeromo? Jeromo doesn't actually have a whole lot left, although Joe has been a little bit distracted by C9, and Joe might actually be turning his sights to C9, which could save Jeromo. However, he will eliminate that oil derrick, just taking a little bit more money from Jeromo. Jeromo actually does only have that one refinery, which I don't even know how he's still in this game with only one refinery. Also, if this game randomly crashes at some point, then there will be basically an edit, and then we'll continue on. I think I was supposed to say that at the beginning, and I don't think I actually did. NerdyBoy actually revealing that, hey, yes, he is still in this game, and it looks like Joe is actually going to be trying to contend for that northern base again, although he may not get it. And look at that, Jeromo going to be striking back against Pride just a little bit. He's going to be taking down one refinery, not a huge deal, because Pride actually does have quite a few. But no, he will be sniping two refineries and selling off, I believe that was an airfield. The third MCV is actually going to be packing up and moving back a little bit. Pride, I don't think he's actually built too much stuff out of that armory. However, it does look like C9 going to be engaging Joe, and Joe is definitely on the back end of this attack. He is not going to be in a good position, as C9 is just going to be able to systematically chew through this entire force for Joe, and even the multi-gunner turret was not enough to stop C9. C9 just going to steamroll right on through. A single Spectrum Tower probably will not be enough. However, two will allow Joe to deal some damage to C9. He desperately needs to call in. Oh, the precision bomber again out of C9, enough to stop it. However, the EMP will go down, locking down one assault destroyer, but Joe, you don't have anything to actually deal with it. EMPs are great, but they only do so much. C9 actually rolling in from a couple of angles, and he may very well be able to completely clean out Joe. The pretty good split out of C9, taking absolutely no damage from that Magmageddon. And he is going to be trying to regroup his army a little bit here, swinging in from the right side and the left. Well, from the, I guess, north and south. Once again, Joe going to be locking down a lot of stuff. Will the micro be good enough? No, it won't. He does basically throw away Tanya. Did he actually get the money's worth? Well, it's hard to say. Two Mirage tanks under the protection of these assault destroyers may be able to do absolutely massive amounts of damage, but we will have to see. The assault destroyer count for C9 is a little bit higher, although it may be almost equal in a couple of seconds here if he's able to snipe down a couple of these. But no, he does lose both of his Mirage tanks, or he lost one Mirage tank and one assault destroyer. However, C9 is not actually engaging with all he's got. EMP is going to be battling down here, and Pride may actually get kicked out by Jeromo. NerdyBoy going to be rebuilding as well. However, he is going to be trying to take on C9, while C9 is actually completely occupied with attacking Joe down here in the center, which means that NerdyBoy may actually be able to take some stuff back on the top side. Going to be throwing away one MCV, and not throwing away, but actually losing it. It's okay, because Joe does have a second MCV as well, which means he's going to be all right if he can somehow escape the wrath of C9, because, hey, guess what? Infantry are pretty awful out on the water, especially when they can't swim. And actually, it does look like Pride was able to lock down quite a few units from Jeromo, and he's going to be trying to freeze them down, although the majority of them do move in time, which means that Magmageddon won't really do a whole lot. Oh no, he does actually freeze a couple of units. He may be able to lock them down completely and take them out. However, it does look like Joe is getting almost completely wiped out. Will his naval forces be enough to stop the might of C9? I do not know. Especially if C9 is able to power just more and more assault destroyers, it's going to be hard to say. However, NerdyBoy definitely not out of this, although he's hardly in it at the same time. and somehow the blue on the map, and not the cyan sort of blue, just the dark blue of C9, has somehow almost invaded the entire map from north to south. Only Pride and Jeromo have yet to feel the wrath of, well, I guess IP didn't really feel too much of that. However, stuff getting locked down, the MCB even hitting 2 power plants and that refinery. I didn't even think that refinery was going to get locked down at that sort of a range. Although, yeah, going harvesters, multiple harvesters doesn't work quite like it does in Kane's Wrath, which is no good for Pride. However, Pride is going to be taking quite a bit of damage from Jeromo. Although Jeromo and Pride may have basically eliminated themselves, and neither one of them are actually in a very good position. Although, who is actually in a good position other than C9, who's basically been able to claim almost the right half of the map? And he may actually be expanding towards the middle, towards some of these central expansions that Joe held for a little while. He's going to be trying to take down the stuff from NerdyBoy, launching the EMP and trying to get those Athena cannons. Although the Aegis shield goes up at just the right time, somehow it still does hit the one Athena cannon, and somehow the Athena cannon, the shield from the other Athena cannon didn't actually protect that Athena cannon, which lots of Athena cannon word usage going on. C9 going to be turning his sights on Pride, and he should be able to actually just steamroll everything that Pride has, which isn't a whole lot. Packing up his additional MCB, possibly going to be sending it out over towards Jeromo's old base, although there's not a whole lot left. And is that actually going to be, that is actually or aircraft carriers somehow striking that far inland. Those are some pretty hefty assault destroyers. NerdyBoy, I don't know if I agree with this. He's not quite strong enough to take on the might of C9. But he is certainly going to be trying. My voice actually getting a little bit raspy here. Man, those aircraft carriers actually have ridiculous range. Well, at least it looks like a lot farther than it probably actually is. The Cryogeddon mixed with the Cryocopters. This could be the end of Pride, as he will be losing at least 1 MCB, possibly 2. Might as well switch the other Cryocopter to the second MCV to go ahead and try and take it down as well and start freezing it up. However, no, it does look like Jeromo is just going to be going with the EMP and also the aircraft carrier combo. Actually, Joe is just getting in on the action a little bit as well. Joe actually going to be cleaning up C9, so while no one can take on C9 directly, if these other guys are able to gang together, Pride has been defeated, losing both of his MCVs, and that was it for him. If NerdyBoy and C9 and Jeromo and also Joe are able to all kind of gang up on C9, or at least make him split his forces, that one of them might actually have a chance. As you can see, Joe, he's got, like, what, 4 Dolphins, but he's taken out stuff of C9's where C9 is pretty darn weak. And his his aircraft carriers are going to be trying to deal with those Dolphin threats, although we'll see how good the micro is out of Joe, and also how much attention C9 is actually going to be paying to those assault destroyers. Oh, the aircraft carriers take out basically everything. 1 Dolphin will narrowly escape with its life, and Jeromo may actually be looking to engage C9 on another front as well, so this could come to the point where C9 actually doesn't have enough stuff to engage everywhere at once, and he will be able to take out NerdyBoy most likely. However, NerdyBoy, with a pretty solid split of the Mirage tanks, was able to avoid the majority of the bombs, and look at that carpet bombing's fractures. However, it does look like NerdyBoy will be able to clean up quite a few of these infantry. He will lose his Mirage tanks because he's not actually firing at anything. And the Mirage tanks, the way that they just sort of split the spectrum beam between multiple targets, can be extremely powerful versus infantry, but not if you're actually shooting, or not if you're not actually shooting anything. NerdyBoy may get cleaned up for a second time in this game, and once again by C9. However, C9 is going to be trying to engage Jeromo here, which he may very well be able to just swing down with part of his force and clean out Jeromo. Somehow C9 able to bruise so much stuff that it's actually kind of ridiculous. And look at this, just a couple of Peacekeepers going to be going to try and take down all of NerdyBoy's stuff, although they may very well not be able to. And the Sentry Bombers out of C9 not actually going to be able to do everything that they can. They're desperately trying to clean everything up, and the EMPs out of C9 have been pretty darn solid this entire game, locking down unit after unit, and Multi-Gunner Turret actually going to get an extra kill on a Hydrofoil there, which is just never a good position to be in when you are Jeromo. Jeromo with so little income compared to C9, yet somehow he's managing to go toe-to-toe against versus, well, at least part of C9's army. because most of his army is actually on landing. He's going to be rerouting it. So if Joe can somehow manage to do something, otherwise C9 will eventually just steamroll this entire game. The Magmageddon does go down, does fire off, but I don't think it actually got that much stuff. A couple of hydrofoils, maybe even a dolphin or two. However, C9 will just be able to continue his crazy steamroll down south, down to the far southern part of the map, and actually be able to just completely eliminate possibly Jeromo from the game, although Jeromo showing us that he is a hardy player and he will not be kicked out too easily. His income isn't too bad at this point. He is going to be at those 7 ore nodes rather, while C9 I think is on 8 or 9 at this point. Joe going to be on 5 or 6 himself. That actually is going to be only 6. So, and while NerdyBoy, well, NerdyBoy is like, I've only got 2. And he's just rocking those 2 ore collectors. Oh, and right there, a third one does go down. So NerdyBoy looking to make me out to be a liar. And the Athena cannons will go down for Joe. And look at that, C9 mostly engaging with just infantry, which means that with some proper control of... No, he actually doesn't have anything to just tank damage. If he had some assault destroyers, he might be able to just run over that column of infantry. However, it is no longer simply a column of infantry, and C9 going to be turning his attention to Jeromo because, hey, Pride isn't actually there to take that from Jeromo anyways, because Pride was a little bit closer than Jeromo was before. But now Jeromo is going to be bringing the full wrath of C9. He will get a single hydrofoil, not a huge deal. But man, those aircraft carriers just have absolutely ridiculous range, especially when they're fully heroic, like the most of them are. They will be able to snipe down individual infantry units, not a huge deal, but if he can manage to snipe down some of these units, the EMP missile, where is it actually going? Goodness, that was... Where did that even fire from? How did that even happen? I am not entirely sure. However, EMPs do go out, and the perfect shot by Joe. Will he be able to capitalize on it? The Magmageddon does go down. Some infantry do get locked up, but more importantly, the assault destroyers don't actually go down. The Athena cannon's getting repeatedly locked down, and it looks like Joe was able to capitalize on that almost entirely. However, C9 going to be striking back with a similar combo. EMP followed up by Magmageddon, locking down all of those Athena cannons, all 5, and the assault destroyer can't actually do anything. Will the infantry be able to get far enough inland to make something happen? Not with the Mirage tank stare out of Joe, and he's got another Tanya on the map, which could even things out a little bit with no extra firepower if they do not focus down Tanya immediately, which actually that Mirage tank doing quite a bit of damage to C9's infantry, and Tanya may be able to actually get all the way up to heroic status, and then utilizing that time belt could mean that she will do an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage under the hands and, well, the control of Joe. Will it actually happen? C9, does he have enough right here to stop it between getting split up fighting Jeromo and Joe, and also NerdyBoy a little bit? Does he actually have enough to stop Tanya? Although Tanya knows she's actually going to be turning her sights, taking out a refinery, not a huge deal, but an annoyance nonetheless. And if we, there isn't actually a whole lot. I keep expecting to see something on the actual ground to contest Tanya, but all of his stuff he did send out to see C9 losing quite a few assault destroyers in that last engagement as well, which Jeromo and Joe may be able to kind of muscle their way into C9's base, and through, attacking multiple sides, forcing C9 to split his attention, split his units, split his resources, they might be able to make something happen, although Joe is not interested in actually doing anything, meaning that C9 will still remain the strongest force in this game, although Joe is actually pretty expansive himself. He might actually be looking to take a little bit of more territory away from C9. If he's actually able to get up here, he could basically clean out that MCV, clean out that refinery, and yeah, basically without contention at all. However, where is the particle collider? It is over here. Will we actually see it be used, or will we just see the chronosphere be used? And Jeromo going to be engaging with an Apollo. Who will actually win? Well, it looks like C9 will actually escape with his life. I think Jeromo would have lost that engagement, which is why he pulled back. But C9 lost almost as much as Jeromo. I think it was roughly even, although Jeromo's Apollo took a little bit more damage. However, NerdyBoy going to be moving down here again with that MCV, and that actually is going to be dual MCV. So he is going to be rocking those 4 bases. I can't imagine that they're not depleted. Actually, oh, they might not be. Yeah, he's actually going to be sitting on that full income while I guess C9, I'm assuming he's depleted. No, actually, we haven't actually... Okay, yeah, one of the ore collectors has been defeated. Jeromo going to be looking to engage C9, and the Cryogeddon does go down. It will trap quite a few infantry, not a whole lot, because they were in a single file line. However, he is going to be locked down quite a few stuff. Where did that go? I think it was over here. I think C9 just chrono triggered some stuff onto the water because it instantly destroys it, which was always great fun in the campaign of Red Alert 2. However, the Proton Collider is down for Joe as well. And the Chrono, what is that actually called? Chronosphere, I couldn't remember what it was actually called. C9 completely cleaning up Jeromo. However, Jeromo does have Tanya. Will it actually be able to do anything? That remains to be seen. Tanya may actually get taken out relatively quickly, although no, she is going to be doing a little bit of damage to C9. And may be able to actually take out all of the hydrofoils, and we are going to take a very slight break here. And we're back. The dogs were getting a little bit rowdy. Didn't want them to start barking, which means we did have to take a quick break. Tanya will go ahead and jump inside of that, and she may get the MCV as well. Will she actually have the time? No! It looks like the MCV will not outrun her, actually sniping it at the last second. Will jump into that power plant, and basically now he just needs to dodge Athena cannons as long as he can. And will he be able to actually do it? Yes, he's making use of that terrain. And oh, NerdyBoy with the snipe of Tanya, a cryocopter locking Tanya down. And actually C9 is low on power, which is no good for him. His Proton Collider has been locked down. However, the Chronosphere getting completely eliminated, and may actually go for the power plant before the multi-gunner turret. I guess actually going for a multi-gunner turret before power plant. Just take out the power plant. Oh, Jeromo, you may actually be making a mistake. If those defenses come back online, that will be nothing but trouble for you. And Jeromo needs to just engage where he knows he can win. And actually, we could be seeing Joe possibly take this game. Why do I say that? Well, look at the map right now. You've got NerdyBoy being attacked by Joe, but NerdyBoy isn't really doing a whole lot, while you've got Jeromo and C9. They're currently at kind of each other's throats, and nobody's really messing with Joe. Joe's got another Tanya, and actually, no, Jeromo might be kind of scouting out Joe in a moment there with that Apollo. But if Joe and, if Jeromo and C9 just sit there and engage each other, then Joe might be able to just wait everything out and simply just, let the others kill each other off. And the mass dogs actually out of C9 may be enough to stop Tanya. That's so many dogs. It's actually kind of hilarious, and no, Tanya is way too good for that. Sniping down dog after dog. Somebody call animal rights, not human rights for dogs, but animal rights, and maybe they can lock down Tanya, although I'm told that cryocopters are pretty good at that. C9 actually accidentally bombing his own units, and the Riptide in combination with the dogs. Will it be enough? No, not at all. Somehow Tanya survives again. And I guess never underestimate the power of Tanya. However, no, it will not touch. She still won't get taken out. The control of Jeromo is actually too good. NerdyBoy has been defeated. And look at that, C9 will be losing his Proton Collider. And the Proton Collider going down, getting powered down as well for Jeromo. And he's going to be cleaning up right there. Yeah, it will get cleaned up. And once again, losing another MCV. I think, yeah, C9 may actually be taking a little bit too much fire from multiple Tanyas and actually getting frozen there, but no one is going to be able to do anything about that frozen airfield, which I think Joe might be in the best position right now. Actually, that airfield, I'm curious if it's just simply bugged and it's not actually frozen. However, Joe going to be engaging C9. C9 has been beaten back. Wait a second, does he not actually... He does have one MCV there, so he had at least 3 MCVs. That's just a multi-gunner turret, despite it being a giant dot on the minimap. So yeah, I think C9 is down to basically 1 MCV, and then these few buildings, which a defense bureau, an airbase, oil derrick, or 2, and then some walls around the map. I think he still has walls, which of course, walls being the most important structure in Red Alert 3, way more important than your MCV, and if you think that's serious, well, it's simply not. However, it looks like Joe may be able to fire his Proton Collider, although it does get Chrono Rifted. I want to say that that's the Chrono Rift. I'm not entirely sure, because that top secret protocol basically never gets used. It's either Chrono Shift or Chrono Rift. I'm pretty sure it is one of those. And look at that, Jeromo going to be just cleaning up even the harvesters, not even going for the buildings, for the airfield, the defense bureau, or the MCV of C9. Where is that MCV actually? It is over here, which it has actually been spotted by Joe. He knows that it's there, and he is going to be moving out Athena cannons galore, mixing in a couple of Mirage tanks, more than a couple, and blending with a ton of infantry. It sounds like a recipe for disaster, for C9, for deliciousness, for Joe, and possibly disaster or just epic battles for Jeromo and Joe, because C9 may be very well getting kicked out of this game. I don't know if he can escape the wrath and the might of Joe, although he may very well be able to pull something out of his hat. He's not quite out of it yet. He does still have an air base, I guess. However, Joe has already taken some of these expansions. Look at that, even claiming this depleted one here, which I don't even know how long it'll take to get back the cost of that refinery at 75 credits a load, which, I mean, at least it's better than nothing, but only slightly better. Only 75 credits better every, 5 or 10 seconds. I'm not actually sure what the timing is on that. Jeromo making just small strikes. I'm kind of surprised he's not actually attacking the stuff that matters. Very likely he doesn't actually have vision of that stuff. But sending a Riptide out to just kind of engage, and oh, C9 snipes the Riptide, although no, he did EMP that airbase, so he does know it's there. And Joe may actually be losing both of those. No, I don't know if those Riptides are. Yeah, it is going to be turning around. It should make it there in time. Will we actually see a heroic Riptide? Quite possibly instantly. And no, it is just going to be elite status, not quite heroic. And C9 is that the sell-off? No, it's not quite. However, this Proton Collider for Joe has counted down all the way. Will he get some epic shots off on Jeromo, or will he simply use it on C9's MCV? That still remains to be seen. Hopefully, I won't miss those glorious animations, although it may actually cause my computer to lag out just a little bit. C9, I think, is actually going to be out of it, as there isn't a whole lot of expansions he can take without trying to move back out over to this side, and Jeromo is already claiming a lot of that. I think that Joe is actually just going to be waiting on this for Jeromo. He is going to be kind of scouting with these sentry bombers. I expect him to be firing off that Proton Collider any moment now, somewhere down here, but he still hasn't quite used it, which I don't want to miss it just because it's so darn rare. And he actually is going to be trying to clean up Jeromo when and where he can. Jeromo going to be engaging on the left side, and right there, Proton Collider on top of aircraft carriers. Can't say I disagree with that. Able to take down only one. However, the rest of them may actually heal up. At least the heroic ones will heal up. And the Assault Destroyer out of Joe actually does get shrunk down a little bit. However, will Jeromo get a chance to fire his own Proton Collider? That is a question that remains to be seen. Assault Destroyers parked amongst a lot of rocks are going to be engaging Jeromo. And no, C9 is actually not quite out yet, although that is possibly the best ore collector placement or ore refinery placement I have ever seen. He might be able to somehow long distance harvest, although that's so inefficient that I don't think he'll actually get any money in any sort of timely state. Almost all of those aircraft carriers do get locked down. The sentry bombers will roll in. Will they actually be able to bomb anything? Yes, they are going to be dropping their bombs, taking out one hydrofoil and one aircraft carrier, while the other aircraft carriers do go down. At least that one did right there, and that sentry bomber just get the bombs just sucked into that assault destroyer, and it's just kind of hilarious how that animation actually works. And look at that, one single aircraft carrier getting locked down for Joe. However, Jeromo may be getting cleaned up by the, is it dual? No, it is going to be triple aircraft carriers, two of them fully heroic, while over here, Joe is going to be engaging with tons of Mirage tanks. Jeromo doesn't have a whole lot to hold it off, although he does have those EMPs from the aircraft carriers, actually locking down his own building, which is not too good in this situation. Going to be trying to take down, I can't tell who actually used that, who used the Chrono Rift. I'm not sure if the EMP did affect it while it was in the Chrono Rift. I think it did, but I'm not entirely sure. Hydrofoil for Joe actually going to be locking down that aircraft carrier, which is just super annoying. Joe moving out with his giant army, his streams of units. Mirage tanks, Athena cannons, and tons of infantry may actually be able to just snipe this Proton Collider before it gets a chance to fire. With less than a minute and a half remaining, Jeromo may actually never get the pleasure of being able to launch that super weapon onto the enemy. No, the Athena cannons do take it down right there. meaning that Joe is most likely going to be able to take this game, although I'm sure some of you were able to see that from a mile away, and especially if you've already seen the replay, in which case you were probably basically a psychic at that point. Joe just going to be systematically cleaning up the rest of Jeromo's base. Actually, does he have anything left? He does have an MCV, so technically he's not out of it yet. An outpost over there and a naval yard over here, so even if he loses his MCV, he does have the possibility of rebuilding. However, so does C9. Joe is in just, I think, too good of a position at this point to actually lose to a whole lot. C9 is going to be dual pumping out those Dolphins, but hey, how are the Dolphins actually going to deal with any of the stuff that's on the land for Joe? Because C9's army has basically been gone for quite a while now, and those aircraft carriers cleaning up basically everything that Jeromo does have. He still does have his MCV, he still does have his dignity, but pride is no longer a part of this game. I am just incredibly witty. Oh my gosh, I'm just so witty. No, I'm not actually. It took me a long time to think of that, and I'm actually kind of ashamed that I didn't think of better pride-based puns earlier. However, it does look like Jeromo going to be getting cleaned up basically across the map. He was trying to do some stuff over here, but it looks like he's being completely cleaned up by Joe, and Joe maybe just rolling over the rest of Jeromo's stuff. The MCV is down here on the southern tip of the map. May actually just be trying to set up in the corner over here, if we can actually get a better angle on that black corner, because hey, black corners are pretty awesome in the game. There are so many of them. At least one per map. There's at least one corner per map, almost guaranteed, because squares don't have a lot of corners. But anyways, what are we even talking about? It's just absolutely ridiculous. C9 is actually going to be rolling in. The Cryogeddon will miss. I think every single Dolphin did get missed there. And man, Mass Dolphin just takes stuff out so quickly. And look at that, destroying his own building. Joe, in his anger, is trying to take out so many Dolphins. He does actually take out quite a few there. That did quite a bit of damage. However, everything just gets eliminated so quickly when you have so many Dolphins, almost as many Tengus as C9 had in the previous game, in the previous FFA that is. Going to be able to take down assault destroyers in a matter of seconds, splitting his Dolphins into a couple of groups, and this is why you cannot let anyone escape ever, because hey, look at that, C9 going to be expanding to the top side of the map, taking over NerdyBoy's original base. Somehow it still has a single Vindicator flying around. I guess if he finally gets up an airfield, he won't have to actually rebuild that Vindicator, while Joe, on the other hand, going to be losing a little bit of stuff to those Dolphins. And does he actually have anything for these aircraft to land on? I'm not entirely sure, although if they do have bombs, then they will not crash. However, it does look like the refinery goes down in a matter of moments. Just so much damage output from, how many Athena cannons actually is that? That's 10 Athena cannons, and three of them are heroic. Yes, 3 of them are heroic, and then that Mirage tank keeps tripping me out, making me think that that's a 4th Athena cannon that's heroic. However, it is not. The MCV is going to be trying to escape for C9. Will it actually be able to get far enough away from the heroic Athena cannons that they won't be able to shoot it? And hey, who even cares about the mountains that are technically in the way? You just fire your targeting laser right through them. And Jeromo not going out without a fight, even though he's just got a Peacekeeper running around it, instantly gets shot down by that Spectrum Tower. But hey, C9 is going to be able to escape with his MCV, and Jeromo is actually going to be setting up base over here. And yeah, he does have his MCV in the corner, and the frame rates are dropping, which means I think we're actually going to have to be coming back to this game in just a moment. So Joe is basically going to be able cleaning up C9. I actually have no idea what I was talking about last, because as you can probably tell, I did have to go ahead and clean up some stuff. C9 running around with his million Dolphins, and he's desperately trying to find somewhere where he can engage safely, quickly, and with, minimal losses, which I guess that's kind of the same as just saying safely. And actually, Joe going to be rolling around with a lot of cryocopters on the north side of the map. Not sure why he didn't just hit C9 here. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot to follow it up with. Although, does he actually have anything on the north side of the map? I don't see any assault destroyers. No, it's just Mirage tanks and Athena cannons. Although, I think he can actually reach that. Yeah, he should definitely be able to reach that with an Athena cannon. I would think However, oh man, look at that. All of those Athena cannons actually going to be getting locked down, 6 in total. However, not able to completely capitalize on it because he only does have one of those assault destroyers or aircraft carriers. And Joe needs to make sure that he's actually locking down both of those buildings so that this one does not thaw out. But he also needs to make sure he's capitalizing on those frozen structures with something like Riptides or even Athena cannons before the hydrofoils show up. I think they will actually show up before the Riptides are able to get out there. But hey, as long as the buildings are still frozen when the Riptides get out there, they are able to clean everything up. I think the power plant did get sold off. The hydrofoils turning around. C9 doesn't have a whole lot left of power plant there. An MCV up here, an additional power plant going down. I'm not exactly sure why. Oh, it's because this one over here is instantly frozen, or just about. And he does sell that off, getting a full cash, well, a half cash refund for that. However, Jeromo does still have, I think, just 2 and 3 refineries going. So with his MCV in the corner there. But I think Joe will be able to clean up this game in the last few moments. However, the sentry bombers are actually going to be turning around, and one of them does go down, crashing into the water and breaking into little pieces there. But let's take a quick look at the resources of each one of these players. So, well, C9 is actually rolling 9K, Joe rolling 5K, and Jeromo rolling 600. So Jeromo staying pretty well on top of his macro, although it probably helps that most of the ore nodes, I'm guessing at this point, are going to be depleted. Certainly the ones in the main base are. He's not quite grabbing all of those crates that he could, and even the ones on the top. So yeah, he's got a lot of ore collectors, but he's not actually bringing in that much ore because there's only a couple of ore nodes. Actually, maybe just that one on the north side that actually has any ore left in it. And he's slowly trying to work away. Actually, no, that is going to be Jeromo trying to take down C9's oil derrick, and C9 will have none of it, using an entire precision bomber for just that one unit. However, Jeromo will spot Joe's Mirage tanks, and Mirage tanks will not be able to do anything versus this airbase or that refinery. However, Joe really needs to make a move. I think we're going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit here just to try and push towards the end. That Vindicator trying to fly out and make some bombing strikes versus those Mirage tanks will not be able to take out that one with just one bomb. However, Riptides on the north side are going to be getting chased away by C9's Dolphins, and actually pretty solid control of those of the hydrofoils, splitting them up and making sure that he's actually taking down multiple units with one, or multiple units instead of just tailing all of the hydrofoils to attack one unit with that I don't actually remember what that what the special ability is called, but it is going to be the anti-gun weapon, because that makes a whole lot of sense. Jeromo trying to take out some sentry bombers with an Apollo. Will he actually be able to do anything? He does have to sell off that refinery, and will he actually get the snipe on that sentry bomber? If he has enough ammo, he certainly will. But actually, that Apollo desperately trying to chase down the sentry bomber. I don't think he'll be able to get 2. He may have the speed, but not the enough ammo to actually make anything happen. Tons of infantry on the north side. Let's just speed it up a little bit here, as we think we can all tell that Joe is probably going to be able to just sort of steamroll the rest of the game, trying to make it with these assault destroyers, while over here he's engaging with Riptides that get EMP'd, and the Dolphins getting sniped by Athena cannons. But with the cryocopters here, they might actually have enough to just freeze the hydrofoils outright and just deny them from actually doing any damage that way. However, C9 does have quite a few naval stuff still here. Joe needs to split his cryocopters, making sure that he's locking down every unit that he can, or at least the most amount of units that he can, leaving one on each unit just to make sure that it remains frozen. And Joe going to be going for the refinery. Won't quite get the MCV of Jeromo, but he is fighting on multiple fronts. And actually going to be losing a couple of cryocopters there. Going to be calling in the time bomb. And will he actually kill anything with it? No, he will not, but sure does have a cool animation when it blows up. Joe trying to chase down Jeromo's MCV, which will it actually escape? I think the refinery and airbase will finally go down, although an extra assault destroyer does get sniped there. However, the refinery does go down, and I don't think he will actually have enough to take out both of those assault destroyers. The Vindicators will have to land somewhere else. Actually, a fully heroic Vindicator. Will Jeromo actually be able to get anything up in time? If that Vindicator spent all of its bombs, then he will definitely not be able to get anything up in time, but it's kind of hard to tell. Cryogeddon not actually going to be affecting anything, while C9 still trying to play the, fight versus Joe, as he's trying to muster up some units to try and take down Joe. However, will Jeromo actually be able to do anything? I'm not entirely sure that he'll be able to get that airfield up in time. However, the aircraft carriers have completely cleaned up the Athena cannons. The sentry bombers for Joe are just flying around, not actually engaging anything. I'm not entirely sure why he's not at least going for these units, because at this point, you just have to kind of sacrifice some units. You could take out the MCV, which is actually down here now, and maybe even take out the naval yard as well, but instead, yeah, I mean, four sentry bombers should be able to take out the MCV. He's actually going to be moving in with a lot of Riptides, which, they just get basically all completely taken out by the assault destroyers, and also the Dolphins from C9, and Jeromo was able to get that airfield back up and rocking. However, will C9 actually be able to do anything versus the might of Jeromo? God, I'm getting these players' names all mixed up. Joe, this game has been going on a bit too long for me to actually keep track of everything, and we're into kind of the stalemate, which is, of course, why there's not a whole lot happening. None of the players really have enough to actually decidedly finish off anyone else, if that's even a word. Goodness, just one of you finish something up. C9 has actually grown to be very powerful. To be kind of powerful in this game, although he is going to be losing most likely both of these power plants that should, actually I don't know if it'll take out that second power plant, but it definitely will take out the weakened one. No, it doesn't actually take out both power plants. However, where is C9's MCV? It redeploys over here. Jeromo, where are the sentry bombers? Or not Jeromo, Joe, where are the sentry bombers? C9 takes down one of the sentry bombers. However, Jeromo, does he actually have a whole lot left? He does still have his airfield, and it's pretty safe out here on the water. I'm not entirely sure where all of Joe's assault destroyers did go. He's got tons and tons of infantry and nothing for them to shoot, but it looks like Riptides are going to be trying to chase down this force out of C9, and they will engage. However, most of them do get locked down by that EMP, followed up by a Cryogeddon, which will freeze 3 and 4, all 5 and 6 of them, which means the Dolphins, if C9 abuses the bug a little bit, which he will not do, you can actually splash onto land, but he doesn't even need to, not with an assault destroyer right there waiting to take down that Riptide. And the infantry, are they going to be able to actually do anything versus this army? I think if he rushed over here, he could get the one assault destroyer, maybe, although C9 would most likely pull back promptly after he lost that assault destroyer and then be completely out of range of Joe. But Joe actually being put up against the ropes a little bit by C9. He hasn't been focusing quite as much on his naval army, or else he doesn't actually have enough money to do anything about the naval army out of C9. He's trying to win with just air power, but he desperately needs to take out the MCV on the north side. I don't think he's actually scouted that at this point. He may actually be able to finish out Jeromo there at this point. He is going to be freezing down the refinery as well as the airfield, which both of them do get sold off. However, now the Riptides will be able to clean up, in conjunction with that aircraft carrier, will be able to clean up the rest of the stuff for Jeromo. So Jeromo is about to be kicked out of the game in just a few seconds here, assuming the Riptides actually start attacking that MCV and then turn around, and they do not even have to attack to take out the control post, command hub. Same difference. And now it's down to just Joe and C9, and Joe controls the land, but C9 controls the water. And Joe is actually going to be mass expanding a little bit. He could even take this expansion up here, which definitely has enough to make it worth it. And then some of these other expansions will take a bit longer for him to actually get his money's worth out of it. But then if he's able to set up a couple of naval yards on probably over here somewhere on this side of the map, he might be able to fight back against C9's massive naval army, because he doesn't quite have enough to actually deal with C9's army. He desperately needs to do something but what has happened to his army? Where are, well, there's 2 of the sentry bombers. Are there actually any more? I'm not entirely sure. An extra prospector wouldn't do him too bad to just sell off some of those command hubs because he doesn't really need them, and he might be able to use the money at this stage of the game. EMP going to be locking down that assault destroyer, and actually I think that's C9's assault destroyer, so what kind of working against him right there, but he will be losing 1 aircraft carrier, and an additional naval yard does go down. The Cryogeddon goes down for C9. He will lock down 2 power plants and a barracks. Will he actually be able to do anything with that? I don't know, because he's just kind of focused on the MCB and those Riptides. So Joe going to be running away to the land, and if C9 is actually able to turn one of these assault destroyers, he might be able to put Joe into a low power mode, and C9 possibly going to be able to make the comeback, although he will be losing a refinery. Right there, it does go down. He's not maybe going to be capitalizing on those frozen buildings, but he will be going for the armor facility as well, which is a great choice because, hey, actual unit producing structures are a good thing to clean up, and there goes that armor facility right there. So Joe being pushed further and further inland, and he's got this giant infantry army that he can't actually do anything with, although he has spotted the base for C9. He's actually going to be deploying a command hub to try and get some build radius there, while C9 is actually pushing him further and further inland, and Joe's just trying to dodge all of the bombs by C9, converging basically his entire army on this northern section of the map. Will he be able to get the MCV? Does C9 actually have anything left? I'm trying to check. It looks like just maybe a command hub, so Joe actually might be able to completely kick C9 out of this game in just a couple of seconds with the remaining Riptides. And will this be the end of C9, or does he have something hidden? No, he does not. C9 has been defeated. Joe has been been victorious. So SJOJE, I don't know if that's some sort of play on words or what, but he has been defeated. And as you can tell, definitely not bugged out is that units graph, but the structures graph going to be a little bit more reliable. Unfortunately, IP getting cleaned up pretty darn early. Pride actually going out second. I thought he was actually in the game longer than that, but I guess he wasn't quite. However, in the long run of things, 55 minutes, unfortunately, it probably won't be quite that short for you folks at home, just because we had a couple of recording problems, but that will do it for this game. Congratulations to Joe, and thanks for all of the guys well, I don't know, maybe one of them's a girl, but for all of the folks who participated in just bringing entertaining goodness, I messed that up. Interesting, entertaining, epic games for us. Not everything is about super serious 1v1s. Every once in a while, it's fun to do something fun. Oh, man. This game, it kind of burned me out a little bit. I think I just need to go to bed at some point. This is going to be Sybert signing out.